Quando você vê nosso trevo, pensa logo em shopping, não é? Mas é só olhar ao redor para perceber que tem muito mais. Tem conexão com a vizinhança, com a economia local e com novos negócios. A Multiplan é pioneira na criação de espaços multiuso, que integram shoppings, torres comerciais, residenciais e consultórios em um só lugar. Movimentam o entorno, com cerca de 200 milhões de visitas por ano. Hoje a Multiplan tem 20 shoppings e 2 complexos de torres corporativas espalhados por diversos estados brasileiros. Os shoppings Multiplan são também verdadeiros polos culturais e de entretenimento. Temos salas de teatro com programação variada, cinema com tecnologia exclusiva e o Multiplan Hall, com grandes espaços para shows e eventos. Todos os anos, nossos shoppings recebem mais de 1.000 atrações culturais que divertem e encantam pessoas de todas as idades. Nossa estrutura também é pensada para oferecer ao público experiências que ficam na memória, com restaurantes reconhecidos, áreas de lazer e muito mais. Por trás do trevo Multiplan também tem cuidado e solidariedade. Unimos colaboradores, clientes e sociedade para gerar impacto positivo no meio ambiente e na vida das pessoas. Nossa energia é 100% renovável. Reutilizamos água e tratamos efluentes. Revitalizamos áreas verdes e espaços públicos no entorno dos shoppings. Apoiamos iniciativas sociais com o Multiplique o Bem, nosso hub social, e geramos mais de 80 mil empregos. Com o app Multi, o físico e o digital estão em perfeita sintonia. Antes mesmo de sair de casa, o cliente pode entrar na fila do restaurante, garantir ingressos para atrações e aproveitar os benefícios exclusivos do nosso programa de relacionamento, o Multi. Quando chega ao shopping, aproveita a entrada sem cancela no estacionamento. A Multiplan é pioneira no uso da tecnologia Free Flow em shopping centers da América Latina. Nossos mais de 50 anos de história comprovam. Por trás do trevo da Multiplan, você encontra o futuro. Trabalhamos para sempre estar um passo à frente das necessidades e desejos dos consumidores. Nossos empreendimentos se renovam e trazem novidades para o público sempre com a mesma motivação: evoluir para deixar a vida das pessoas mais fácil e mais prazerosa. Multiplan, faz sua vida melhor.
Can we start? All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here in another public meeting of Multiplan. Thank you for our investors, analysts, collaborators, journalists that take part here and are watching remotely. This is a moment that we can share results, long-term view, and a few successful cases. Multiplan lives a cycle that is very consistent of growth. Numbers of last year's really show that. This performance is not luck. It's the result of a well-defined plan, well executed with discipline and education. The company goes through a transformation. We invest robustly in expansions, revampings, innovation, and the return to the shareholder. 7.5 billion reais allocated in 5 years, always focusing in value generation. At the same time, we are obsessed by operational efficiency. Last year, we saw our expenses dropping and the results increasing. So we have record margins, higher capacity for cash generation, and we're not going to stop. Throughout our history, we've developed over 50 expansions. 22 since the IPO. Just in 2024, between 2024 and 26, we are talking about 50,000 square meters of GLA. Morumbi is an example of that. We launched last year the sixth expansion. When it was born in 82, it was just 32 square, 22,000 GLA. Today is 61,000 GLA and 546 stores. This same context is for the entirety of the portfolio. We revamped basically all the shopping malls with clear impacts in flow, sales, and occupancy. We continue with a solid pipeline for 2026. In the next months, we're going to deliver the expansions of Belo Horizonte and Barra Shopping. November 18th, Barra Shopping Brasilia will launch the expansion. 2027, we have the prediction of launching another 3 expansions: Jundiaí, BH Shopping, and São Caetano. Throughout this morning, we will detail this trajectory and show you how we still identify opportunities of growth with discipline and return. Thank you very much. Welcome to our meeting. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you on site or over the internet. Welcome once again to Morumbi Shopping. We try to find all the words, complete, consolidated, high performance. All of these, I really like the word innovative. I see this word innovative that defines Morumbi Shopping, but also the strategy of Multiplan. Innovation is everything. Innovation in the mix, innovation in the way that we generate the enterprises, innovation in the events that we bring, and that we're going to go over so we can show you. Let's see how it all started in 1982. Berini was just open, we saw the new vector of growth of the city of São Paulo in the southern region of São Paulo. As Eduardo said, 202 stores, 32,000 square meters of GLA. They turned into 61,000 with almost 2.5 times the number of stores. Showing that the big spaces were decreasing, we are making the performance of the shopping mall is actually improving. As I told you, shopping mall innovation was innovative in various fronts. In 1984, we opened the first fashion show. 1997, we did Morumbi Fashion Brazil, which was what came, then it stemmed from São Paulo Fashion Week. It's a way of managing over Multiplan and Morumbi as a protagonist in this big area. Then we did a gourmet area in the shopping mall, not just innovation, but also we have several restaurants here. And the tradition is so strong to bring to the shopping mall. And today we have almost 90 operations of restaurants, 31 restaurants. If you don't know it, you have to get to know them. Just so you can see over the last 10 years, the growth of 112% in the volume of sales, going over inflation, which was 55% in the same period that we're not showing. Morumbi, we identified with Berini, with the avenues, this vector of growth in the city of São Paulo. Morumbi is a catalyst of this growth. It saw that this area, which was basically industrial, it became a big center, commercial center, offices and homes that we have now around the shopping mall. As I told you, the population, the southern zone of São Paulo, this vector of growth, has grown even faster than São Paulo. São Paulo is a phenomena in growth, and we see the southern region, this vector of growth, accelerating ever more than the city of São Paulo, showing that Morumbi is not only a shopping mall of today, it's a shopping mall of tomorrow. It will absorb all the growth of this region, Chucrizaidan Avenue, Roque Petroni Avenue, all of that area that grows, and there's a lot of oxygen to still grow, bringing several opportunities to a shopping mall. Well, as we mentioned, we have 546. It was modernized for a shopping mall. We are still innovating. We are growing. This is the spirit. After doing the meeting when we were on the works, you see the reality and you're going over the shopping mall, and it's a bit of what we are showing in the Morumbi shopping, but showing the fundamentals of Multiplan. How do we think, how Eduardo thinks about it, result of planning and a strategy of the company, very well elaborated. Here are a few pictures of the revamp, but I'm going to show you in a very dynamic way. The video of Morumbi Shopping.
Toda grande história começa com um sonho. Foi assim que há mais de 40 anos nasceu o Morumbi Shopping. Um espaço pensado para ir além do tempo na maior metrópole da América Latina. Sempre pioneiro, foi crescendo e se renovando, junto com essa cidade que simplesmente não para e que faz parte da vida de milhões de pessoas. Grandes histórias não se acomodam, elas se reinventam e assumem desafios à altura de seu legado. Um projeto inovador, uma obra em grande escala, de impacto e feita, acima de tudo, por pessoas e para pessoas. É a energia humana que inspira e transforma o presente para construir um futuro mais moderno. O ícone da cidade cresceu e está pronto para ser palco de suas novas experiências. Sim, esse futuro já é realidade. O shopping mais amado de São Paulo está à altura da cidade e ainda mais completo. Com 40 novas lojas distribuídas em 3 pisos, atualizando seu mix com operações inéditas no Brasil e grandes marcas nacionais. Tudo isso além do melhor da gastronomia, com 8 novos restaurantes em um ambiente exuberante, com muita luz natural e um propósito: ser seu refúgio na cidade, com áreas abertas e muito verde. Presente para quem vive e visita a cidade de São Paulo. Bem-vindos a uma nova era. Bem-vindos ao novo Morumbi Shopping. Maior no tamanho, imenso nas experiências.
To continue the tour of the Morumbi Shopping, now I invite Marcelo Martins, our VP of Operations, and they will tell us not only of the expenses, but the strategy behind Multiplan. Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to see you once again. It's a pleasure to see the activities of the day-to-day. But beforehand, we see the expansion of Morumbi Shopping and share with all of you the confirmation of the success that we see in the expansion. And in the last week of, we had a growth of Morumbi Shopping as a whole of 31% of sales. And taking away the expansion, it grew 40%. It added sales, it added results of the shopping mall. And of course, this revamping that was done, I wanted to share with you the excellent results that confirmed that the strategy was right. So, within our activities of the day-to-day and our assets, we have 4 relevant themes. Starting by the mix, the management of the mix of our shopping mall. Well, the management of the mix is not exact science. It's not simple, but it's the result of an intense, directed work, not only by the experience of the company and their executives, but also the observation of several factors. We have an area of intelligence and planning of mix to guide the work of the commercial area. This guidance is the result of a curatorship based on internal, external market data, an observation of the behavior and the desire of our consumers and the trends. So once it's well directed and with a clear focus, this flow is even inverted by the quality of our assets. We are frequently sought out by the brands that wish to be present with us, within the brands within our mall. This process evolves through a commercial proposal that is analyzed by the executive of the shopping mall, the superintendent, which is who is on the day-to-day, those that are hearing the consumers, and it follows through a committee of the matrix, and then they gather one by one, analyzing the proposals and all the aspects and factors of this proposal, financial even. And to measure this, it's 100 proposals analyzed every 15 days. Once again, and as last year, we have the example of Barra Shopping and all the impact that we've had in the area of mix. We have Morumbi Shopping, which we had the diagnosis that it could improve, that we could have a demand for more restaurants, and based on data, once again, we did a work. I apologize. We did a work. And to demonstrate that many times, not as Barra Shopping, we did the example of last year, which was a more profound change. But sometimes it's a surgery that also makes a big impact in all the areas. So this area was an area that had an operation in 2021 and restaurants and one of the extremities with a vacancy. So with all the data that we understood that would be pertinent to get into these places, we got another restaurant and we substituted the restaurant that was in the other extremity because it wasn't a restaurant that was not aligned with the profile of the Morumbi Shopping. So we wanted to improve that experience. So guided by these operations, and the results came, as you can see. 2021, we had 25% of the GLA of this corridor destined to restaurants. 2025, we doubled that area. And the results of sales is impressive. It grew 180% of sales against 86% of sales of the shopping mall per se, which is a significant growth. So we realize that once again, it's not necessary to have a big change of a lot of operations. A surgical change can promote an impactful result. The next few slides, they show this. And in 2021, this is the heat map of the flow of customers in this area. It's well distributed. It's not a cold area. We had some flows, but we believe that it could be better. In 2025, that situation after all the changes that we've done. But the good results of this corridor, they're not justified just by the changes that we have in the mix. It's the result of another work, is the result of a profound intervention that Morumbi Shopping went through, including this corridor, which is the revamping. So 2025, 19 of our 20 malls, they suffered some intervention. So what did we revamp? This is a virtuous cycle. It responds to the changes throughout time because of architectural issues, because of a change in behavior, and it makes this wheel turn. And we at Multiplan are always paying attention, making it, and we always try to anticipate and try to be a step ahead. And you can realize that it's one before and after. At one point, this area, it proportioned the best experience. It had good sales. NOI, occupancy rate, strong, what positions the valuation of our assets. But for this to continue to be the truth, we needed to make this cogwheel turn. And which is the second area, which is revamped and proportioning a better experience to go on with this journey of better results. In this process, the shopping mall executives, they have a contribution with accessibility at the tip of the business, that adding to the experience of the company, we go to this process and the execution of this intervention, trying to promote them with the possible care so they don't cause any impact in the operations of the day-to-day. The shopping malls go through revamping and the expansions, but they are working. Every day they need to be open in the best way possible. So we try to avoid this trauma as best as we can. Well, here going over a few images of a few assets that went through these transformations. Barra Shopping, Barigui, Morumbi Shopping, once again, Diamond Mall, Patsavasi, Morumbi Shopping. And these revamping, they go 540 million invested in the last 3 years. Just in Morumbi Shopping, 150 million reais of interventions, profound interventions. Since those areas that the customers come, mobility, until the areas that the customers don't see, but they feel the air conditioning as the environment, the sound, the smells, and also it's very important for the operational security, for the electric, for fighting the fires and others. We showed this slide last year, showing how the consumers, they approved these changes that we are doing in our enterprises. And now we bring the impact of this in our results. of this set of assets that are analyzed by Rigui, Diamond, and Pachitavasi, one yield of almost 10%. When we look at the real growth of rent against what was invested in these interventions and these reworks. Besides having more space that is more attractive to the brands, of having the growth of sales in an environment that is more modern, to be able to receive our consumers, our clients, improving this for Barra Shopping. So improving the journey, we go through the third theme, the events. It's not a new activity. It's present in the DNA of the company since the beginning. Since at the end of the 70s, the 80s, the companies brought to the events, new events that are forever remembered. Here are a few examples. Some of them are in your memory. Some, yes. And I always like to mention the example where Armando went through this in the presentation, which is the events that were born in our shopping malls, but they are so big, they gained so much muscle that they needed to leave, and they became big events with visibility and international, the breadth. The week of fashion of Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, and they were born in Barra Shopping and Morumbi Shopping in the 90s. More than the results of sales and the flow, this is a fundamental. We have to strengthen the connection, the emotional connection with the communities, with the people, with the families, and it's very gratifying to see the memories that are built by generations of people. And we will continue with the objective of enchanting the next generations. So the choice. We're missing one slide. Regardless, the choice of these events, they also go through a process of evaluation. With a few frequency, we receive providers, producers, offering events, but not always the quality of the event, the characteristics of the event are aligned with what we expect. Once again, with the participation of the shopping malls, we try to bring the best events, the best experiences. And over the last 5 years, it was almost 5,000 events that we had in our shopping malls. About 3 new events every day. Just here in Morumbi Shopping, hundreds of events. 1,300 events that we've done it all throughout the network. Within these thousands of events, the smaller ones, that they demand less time to prepare, until the ones that are bigger, which is the case of the Christmas tree. Since the first months of the year, we started to plan and we started to work with. And here is the real dimension of this installation. Few of these events, they extrapolate by the frontiers of these region, and they have a breadth that is incredible. Using the case of Barra Shopping, we had 130,000 visitors through data analysis collected. We identified clients of São Paulo, Paraná, Brasilia. So, getting to know the Christmas tree. So I wanted to invite you all to watch a video that combines this. It's impressive when you compile in a few seconds, but 1,300 events in a year, I mean, it's a lot of work. And we dedicate ourselves to having the best things happen in our shopping mall. And this data analysis that I just mentioned, and there is the fourth and last theme, and about the digital information, and how much that is contributing to the management of our shopping malls. Our multi-app, which is the central core of our digital strategy, it consolidates as a powerful tool for relationship and management. Well, this is a toolbox at its inception to improve the experience of the clients. Over 10 million downloads accumulated. It transformed in a great machine of data generations. Well, with the Q&A session, we've seen that with the earnings results, we were questioned about the monetization of Multi. Multi, it's already being monetized. We have a lot of surety that the best monetization of Multi, its role as a sales lever for the retailers. See how the retailers, whether they're big size or the local ones, they realize and they use this tool as an ally for the management of their businesses, seeking more assertiveness in the relationship with their clients and efficiency in the capture of sales. So a functionality that we just launched in April of last year, getting to know your client. And here is an example of that depth, the level of details that we've managed to share with our tenants. So we established correlations of usage between the different retailers and how much of an individual overview of the tenant. Well, we can have a panoramic overview, broad one, with the capacity of doing the cross-sale of the data and that help us with the decision-making process. Just so you know the size of the dimension, here just on Morumbi Shopping, 500,000 registered for our app. Over 130,000 benefits. returned just last year in our relationship program. Now within the relationship program, 200,000 active benefits in our program, and 60% of the tenants of Morumbi Shopping accessing the Get to Know Your Client to use the data and to have the possibility of providing to them this number for, well, many thousands of the tenants that already accessed this type of information. Here, as we showed back then, and going back using the data in the mix management, Jundiaí Shopping, we had identified the need of improving an area, and through this data, the intelligence, planning of mix, we managed to align a strategy with the commercial area that is well directioned, with a focus to show the specific data that this is more assertive for this region. Well, I'm going to be here, and I would like to thank you for your presence. Thank you. I would like to congratulate all the collaborators of the shopping malls that are day-to-day the artists that help us and contribute with the result of the company. Thank you very much. Now I invite my colleague Vander, VP of Compliance, Institutional Compliance, to continue.
Bom dia, eu sou o Vander Giordano, vice-presidente institucional da Multiplan. Eu decidi começar a minha apresentação fazendo uma jornada diferente, né? Vamos começar aqui pelo Morumbi Corporate, esse complexo, né, de torres comerciais que foram desenvolvidas pela Multiplan. Esse complexo ele possui certificação LEED Gold, que demonstra, né, a preocupação que a companhia tem com a sustentabilidade e demonstra também a conexão que cria entre os nossos empreendimentos. E aqui me refiro também ao Morumbi Shopping, que é para onde a gente vai agora. Antes, nós vamos passar numa passarela pública que foi construída pela Multiplan e também é conservada e cuidada pela companhia. Isso mostra nossa preocupação com o entorno, com a sociedade e, ao mesmo tempo, trazendo essa combinação entre os nossos empreendimentos. Vamos lá? Cheguei aqui na Praça Sol Pérez, esse espaço incrível, né, que foi transformado. E nem sempre foi assim. A companhia tem uma preocupação real com o meio ambiente e com o seu entorno. Fizemos assim no Parque das Artes em Ribeirão Preto, no Parque Tom Jobim em São Caetano do Sul, Parque Getúlio Vargas em Canoas, enfim, dando, né, retribuindo à coletividade tudo aquilo que também eles nos trazem ao frequentarem os nossos ambientes. Então o verde, a possibilidade que você tem de trazer a comunidade para o entorno num espaço como esse, realmente é incrível. Aqui na Praça Sol Pérez, vocês vão ver espaços incríveis, né? Como as águas que ficam saltando, espaços para crianças, né? Playgrounds. Nós temos espaço para a terceira idade, tem toda uma urbanização, chafariz, e temos também espaços para pets pequenos e pets grandes. Agora vamos seguir a nossa jornada, a nossa caminhada. Agora vamos entrar no Morumbi Shopping. Me acompanhem. Essa é uma obra de arte inédita, é o Traverse 2. Um presente, um verdadeiro presente para São Paulo aqui no Morumbi Shopping. Ela reflete, dentre inúmeros outros exemplos e iniciativas, a preocupação que a companhia tem, né, em divulgar a arte, a cultura, dar espaços para a integração entre os clientes e uma obra de arte dessa magnitude. Dentro ainda, né, desse campo, nós temos os Multiplan Halls, né, são os espaços para apresentação de shows, eventos, verdadeiros, eu diria assim, icônicos ambientes para onde eles estão instalados, como em Canoas, em Ribeirão Preto, onde nós costumamos apresentar o Teatro Multiplan no Village Mall, inúmeras atrações, peças inéditas, peças da Broadway, enfim, é a preocupação que a companhia tem em trazer a cultura e a arte e torná-la acessível para muitas pessoas da comunidade do entorno e daqueles que frequentam os nossos shoppings. Bom, e agora nós vamos para lá, tá? Vamos continuar a nossa jornada, a nossa caminhada aqui no Morumbi Shopping. Nós já falamos de meio ambiente, de sustentabilidade, da conexão aqui com o entorno, com a Praça Sol Pérez. Agora chegou a hora da gente falar um pouco sobre educação, dos nossos programas, né, desenvolvidos pela Multiplan há mais de 20 anos, que leva o ensino, a alfabetização, a educação para todos os colaboradores, todos aqueles que estão no nosso entorno. Vamos seguir com a gente agora? Sustentabilidade também é cuidar das pessoas. O programa de escolarização da Multiplan já atingiu mais de 1.000 colaboradores, todos aqui do nosso ecossistema. A importância, né, de você dar novas oportunidades através do ensino e principalmente do ensino fundamental, em que muitas pessoas acabaram não tendo essa oportunidade. A nossa ideia agora é expandir esse programa, que já tem mais de 20 anos, começou lá atrás no Barra Shopping, no Rio de Janeiro. Essa segunda etapa do nosso programa agora visa ir além dos muros da companhia. Nós já começamos com a Escola General Canrobert, em frente ao Parque Jacarepaguá. Agora todos que estão no nosso entorno serão mapeadas para que haja uma avaliação sobre a infraestrutura e o que pode melhorar para que o ensino tenha uma qualidade melhor. Não só a estrutura, mas também o corpo docente e os alunos serão objeto desse programa. É a Multiplan contribuindo para a educação e a melhoria do seu entorno. Com essa jornada, nós quisemos passar para vocês um pouco que vai muito além dos números, dos relatórios que nós divulgamos. Claro que ali demonstra, né, o resultado de todo esse esforço. Mas ao passar pelo shopping, pelas áreas no entorno do shopping, a gente traz um pouquinho do amor, da dedicação, do carinho que a nossa equipe tem, não só com os empreendimentos, mas também com aquilo que está ao nosso redor. Os programas de sustentabilidade, meio ambiente, aquilo que está ligado à arte, à cultura e à educação, são valores inegociáveis da companhia. Vou falar um pouquinho mais sobre transparência e confiança com vocês agora, em todo o programa que a empresa desenvolve sobre governança. Essa jornada, ela vai muito além daquilo que a gente está vendo hoje.
Well, guys, the idea is to go around and see, well, sometimes we just see the numbers and the reports that we've seen, and the people don't know the concern that we have here, the care that we have, legitimate, and that is that is in the DNA of the company. But as we mentioned, 50,000 square meters of GLA. As Marcelo Martins mentioned, 5,000 events. And all of that is done with a lot of attention, with trust, and with transparency. Here, I'm going to talk about a value that is non-negotiable in the company, which are the values and the principles that coordinate all of our structure of governance. not only by its independence of the board members, 43% of them, but all the dedication of the area of compliance, the mechanisms of control, and the statutory VP of compliance. Very few companies in Brazil have, in this infrastructure of VP, have the compliance seat, the chair. So we have to give value to what you believe and you defend. Many times we hear the talks, but the company shows what it does. It shows its projects and always doing it in a way that creates values and principle. Because the company thinks about legacy. This company thinks about the long term. So our projects, they really have to follow everything that we do in our day-to-day. So I'm going to go over another video that summarizes many of the programs that we have in ESG, and I invite you all to watch it.
Bom, com esse vídeo eu
With this video, I would like to thank you. Continue investing in the company and still believe, because we have a lot of things to do and we're still going to bring a lot of surprises to you. So let's call our colleague Marcelo Barnes, Director VP of Development of Real Estate of the company. So let's talk about development of the company. Starting by the expansions. Over 50 expansions in the story of the company. And 22. So welcome. And over the last 18 months, Diamond Mall, Park Shopping Barigui, Maceió. 2 weeks ago, Morumbi Shopping. And we're still going to launch BH Shopping, Barra Shopping, and Park Shopping Brasilia at the end of the year, November 18th, with 9,000 meters of expansion. Here at Morumbi Shopping, we did an expansion that is, as Marcelo said, a lot of success of public and sales. This expansion was done here, where it was the old deck park. It was complex. It was 2.5 years of works, and we have pillars, and we have 350. We did the reinforcements, so we spent over 3,500 meters of reinforcement, carbon fiber. We spent 500 tons in metal works to reinforce our enterprise. We tore down ramps. We rebuilt these ramps. We remanaged Renner. Renner couldn't close the door, so it was in the middle of the way between the expansion and the existing shopping mall. So we did a new Renner, and we transferred it. It was still working. And we did all that with a complicated logistics of the shopping mall without losing sales and working fully. So, how an expansion works, the idea. Basically, our executives, they start to go to the headquarters. Well, we have a demand of the tenants. Our corridors have a demand for this place, this mall. And from that, we develop studies of architecture. We have viability studies where we define the costs, whether if it's rental, building. We define the deadlines and test the market with the material of market, and we test the market. And we fix this to according to our viability. Always trying to get a return with above 12% real, that is deleveraged. Here, specifically on the mall, the last expansion of 2006, this expansion shows the profitability. Had a yield in the allocation revenue, 68% in nominal in these 20 years. And a real yield of 20% through this period. So it shows the profitability of the expansions. Here, we are still going to deliver this year. BH Shopping another 12,000 square meters, Barra Shopping 2,000 meters with a potential for another 2,000, Park Shopping Brasilia 9,000. So BH Shopping, we have 30 million capex, which is June 1st. We have ASICS, we have Nike, Sephora, that is going to be launched in June. Barra Shopping, the expansion of a big brand, international brand, 2,000 square meters. We had to do the metal works to make it agile and be able to deliver it. It's going to be launched in the third quarter of 26. Park Shopping Brasilia launching in November 18th, already launched. This is between the deck park. You can see the deck park on the left and the existing on the right. An infrastructure of which is metallic. And we still have a pipeline of new expansions. Park Shopping, and we're going to announce and be launched. Jundiaí Shopping, you can see, and BH Shopping 13,000, Jundiaí 8,000. I'm going to show a video that summarizes a bit of the expansion.
Olá, eu sou a Marina Lombardi e vou mostrar como a 10ª expansão do Parque Shopping se integra ao shopping que já existe hoje. A nova área não é um bloco separado. Ela nasce como uma continuidade do mall atual e cria uma conexão direta com o estacionamento coberto. Estamos no ponto onde começa a 10ª expansão. Do lado de cá está o mall atual do Parque Shopping e a partir daqui começa a nova área do projeto. No segundo piso, a estrutura já está praticamente toda definida, com pilares, vigas e lajes executados. Isso já permite visualizar a dimensão real do novo corredor da expansão. Neste ponto, teremos um porte-cocher, um acesso coberto para embarque e desembarque de clientes, tornando a chegada ao shopping ainda mais confortável. Seguindo nessa direção, a expansão se conecta diretamente ao estacionamento coberto do Parque Shopping, que conta com mais de 3.000 vagas. Será a porta de entrada para o shopping. Aqui estamos no mall existente e a partir deste ponto começa o corredor da expansão. Neste primeiro piso, o novo corredor já começa a ganhar forma. Muitas lojas já estão demarcadas, permitindo visualizar o percurso do mall e a distribuição das futuras operações. A 10ª expansão nasce integrada ao Parque Shopping e oferecendo mais comodidade e conforto aos clientes. Um projeto pensado para ampliar a experiência do consumidor com a chegada de novas marcas e fortalecer ainda mais o fluxo do shopping. Parque Shopping, a vida é o presente.
Shopping, the life is the present. And not only our shopping mall, we have a lot of assets within the company. The multi-use We have 5 towers. We have Morumbi Vista Center, and it's the Morumbi Corporate. And Morumbi Shopping. Well, this walkaway has an addition of Morumbi Shopping 3 percentage points after its launch. So it justifies all the investment. And why multi-use? Because it's synergistics for one and the other. And the shopping mall adds more traffic and more quality. We invest in residential areas, commercial, for allocation, and for sales. And the biggest multi-use project is Golden Lake, which is 20 towers residential, and it's 200 meters from Barra Shopping Sul, Porto Alegre, 250,000 square meters of private areas, the VGV almost 5 billion reais. The first stage is delivered last year. It was bigger units of 300 to 440 square meters, 94 units, a VGV that is estimated of 600 million reais. We launched in 2024 the second phase, Lake Erie, 2 towers with a pavement, 22 stories, and now we have the building. We are at the beginning, well, smaller units, 127, 150 square meters, the VGV 350 million. And for this year in June, we're going to do the launch of Lake Baikal. We got 29 stories according to the new director plan. 192 square meters, and a VGV that is estimated to 400 million reais. I'd like to call to, well, the stage to, I actually want to see.
Lugar para viver melhor. Endereço para desfrutar do extraordinário. Este é o Golden Lake, o seu mundo à parte. É no primeiro bairro privativo de Porto Alegre que você pode aproveitar uma estrutura única e inédita, redescobrir os prazeres da vida de bairro e se encantar com a vista do pôr do sol mais bonito da cidade. Localizado próximo do complexo Barra Shopping Sul, o Golden Lake traz a sensação de estar em um refúgio particular, onde o Main Lake integra o bairro percorrendo toda a sua área central. O Wellness Center é a essência do relaxamento, com fitness center, spa, salas de massagem, beauty center e muito mais. O Beach Club traz até você a experiência de uma praia privativa e o Golden Park proporciona lazer e diversão com quadras de tênis, bangalôs e Golden Kids. Já os condomínios elevam o morar a outro nível. O Lake Victoria, primeiro condomínio do bairro, está pronto para morar. Composto por 4 torres e apartamentos de 299 a 543 metros quadrados, cada espaço foi pensado para valorizar conforto, amplitude e a vista privilegiada para o Guaíba. Além dos apartamentos, há uma estrutura própria com ambientes dedicados ao lazer, ao bem-estar e aos encontros do dia a dia. Lounge Gourmet, Beauty Center, Fitness Center, Spa, Playground e muito mais. Seguindo a expansão do bairro, o Lake 80, o segundo condomínio, convida você a viver o diferente e o exclusivo com apartamentos de 127 a 186 metros quadrados, 3 e 4 suítes e elevadores panorâmicos inéditos com vista de tirar o fôlego. E o crescimento do bairro não para. O Lake Baikal, terceiro condomínio do bairro, será lançado em breve. E todas essas experiências fazem parte do Golden Lake, numa nova forma de viver na cidade.
Of living in the city. Thank you very much. I'm going to call Armando to show how all of this is reflected in the numbers of the company. So I would like to say, wow. Well, even being at the day-to-day, I am impressed how much Multiplan has been able to build and to be delivering more and more, connecting more and more to the consumer, which is the biggest focus of the company, connecting to the new generations and you looking ahead, looking at the future growth of the company, as we've said, with all these events and actions. I am very proud. So let's talk about, after all this tour that we've taken virtual at Morumbi Shopping, how is that reflected in the results of the company? And I'm not going to repeat the numbers that you've seen. I just want to show you different ways of seeing a few analyses that we want to share with you. So in the end, everything that we discussed on strategies and a summary generates growth in revenue, reduction of expenses, and generates more revenue, sustainable growth of the company. And this is our work of perpetuating the company and preparing the company for the next generations, whether it's with the consumer or management. Here, this first slide is a slide that we show every year, and obviously removing the sales of Multiplan. But here we have a longer series since 2012. You can see how much we've grown with the numbers of the sector. There is no assets without. Well, we saw the liability of the pandemic, but look what happened afterwards. This is a moment that is incredible for the company to grow more with the good assets, having a superior quality to the average of the sector. This is a few of the strategies that we wanted to share with you and how it works within the company. Showing art, that it's not just simply a calculation. There is also, well, the spreadsheets, but it's art and long-term view. So this graph shows how the performance is different. And looking ahead, I hope that we can have the strategy. The strategy is not short term. It's a strategy of the long term. This is another graph that we wanted to assemble, but we know that it's not perfect. We are not comparing the same things. You have the number, the GDP with the interest rate, nominal, growth in sales, but this is to show the performance of the company in any environment, because as we've shown a lot of what was done in high interest rates, double digits, and 2.5 years we are living with interest rates 14, 15 years in Brazil, and imagine what we can do for a sustainable period with predictability. This shows what we want to bring your attention to is the performance of the sales of the company that reflect in the several revenue streams of the company, but several different environments. Here the books, they show the fundamentals that the monetary cycles, the sales drop, not necessarily. They are compensated. These cycles of monetary tightening have an effect on sales, but they are compensated with the strategy and the determination of the company to do our enterprises better every day. Here we start to have a reflection in the results. Expenses. Let me show you a few examples. Expenses or results. the square meter that we manage in the company. In nominal terms, the expenses of real estate are dropping. That growth in the GLA also with productivity. Eduardo commented on the efficiency, the eternal search for efficiency. This is reflected in the numbers. And we can decrease expenses of our properties, reflecting in the results of the company. And the expense, it's growing nominally of headquarters per our own GLA. And it shows that we're growing not just for growth. We're growing with efficiency, generating value. And here the results, the operational cash flow. A lot ask, well, this is what reflects in the results. All the strategy of the company, and you see a big growth. And we prepared ourselves to bring to you in real terms, and you see how much the expense drops, how much the investments in technology, automation, and education, how much that generates at the end of efficiency for our shareholders. In the same way, you have the net revenue multiplied 2.5 times in this period in real terms. Here, talking about efficiency, continuing with the issue of efficiency and showing here the expense of headquarters with the net revenue getting to levels that we've never gotten before. The expense with the record levels, lower levels comparing to the records, but showing clearly a trajectory. We're going to show this in a different way. And here, but the margins are for the recovery of expenses is not recurrent. I always joke with you, when your expense drops, you don't remove it from the calculation. When it gets in, it recovers, you shouldn't also remove it. But let's see it. Let's forget about the pinpoint result. Let's see a trend. What are you going to see? Readjustments, margins, records. The EBITDA of the properties, we use the EBITDA of the property because we have a growth of the revenue of real estate, of course, with lower margins. So we see the result of income, how much is it that we have, and you see the stability and the efficiency of the company, whether if it's in the average of 5 years or the results analyzed in this period. This shows the great moment, operational moment. Delinquency is negative per consecutive, so it decreases with the occupancy, showing the great moment that real estate goes through the properties of Multiplan. Here, another theme, which is 7.5 billion reais in 5 years. And here we're going to show you a few comparisons. And once again, provoking the questions that we're going to have. Here, the company, in the last years, allocated much more capital, to reinforce the 7.5 billion in 5 years, keeping a stability of financial leverage of EBITDA. Sorry, the light is very bright. So I'm going to show you the capacity of the company to return capital, to grow, to get in practice this vision of the future of what we have of our properties and the growth of the company. And here we see through GLA, and we see different strategies. And let's compare what we've done. We had the biggest capital allocation in 5 years in this sector. And when we see this capital allocation per GLA, we see this difference increase more and more by our own GLA. And the return to the shareholder, you see this gap. We see the capacity of the company not only of growing, buying participation, returning capital to the shareholders, we generate value. This last years, we've seen a lot of assets, and we're very proactive in the generation of the shareholders for the shareholders. Buying minority shares, selling, repurchasing shares, developing projects. And here with the repurchasing of shares, it generated almost 900 million reais, regardless of the recent volatility on the capital markets. It generated 900 million reais that do not appear in our results. The financial expenses already appeared. It circulated all the expenses, but having the opportunity of buying the shares at 22.21 generated 900 million to our shareholders. We also did a brief comparison with a big peer of the sector, a big company of the sector, showing how much our performance comparing to the company in the United States was superior, but with a Brazilian valuation, suffering not only by the performance of the company, but because of the environment, the interest rates, which are discounted in our cash flows. To finish the presentation, well, Parque Jacarepaguá in Rio de Janeiro. So why is Multiplan growing? This is the question that we always receive. Why do you continue to grow? There is a space for expansion. Once again, I think that you should visit this expansion, and you're going to have the clear response of how much we have to grow. So why growing? Because of a low penetration. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this slide. They are available for you. But there is very little penetration of shopping malls in Brazil. There is very few cities with shopping centers in Brazil. There's a lot of space for growth. You have a market, consumer market that is big population, with an income per GLA that is also expressive. You have people in Brazil that love to try and get to know things. And here we bring a data we have in the third quarter of last year. What can we do? What do we have mapped in our portfolio? Just expansions, 157,000 square meters. So almost 3 Morumbi shoppings. Almost 3 times the size of Morumbi shopping. We have of multi-use projects, as Marcelo has shown, the expansions and the multi-use projects. But we have another 854,000. Marcelo, correct me if I'm wrong. Golden Lake, 250,000 of private area for sales. It's going to grow more with this change, but we have 14 Morumbi shoppings of possibility of growth. And still, we have a possibility of an additional computable area of 1.5 million square meters. So there is a lot for Multiplan to do. That's why we are talking to you. And it's not only what we did, but looking ahead at what we are going to do. We bring a brief illustration of the projects that are in the numbers that I showed you, projects that do not exist physically, but they are very real for the company. In the spreadsheets, in the screens are engineers and architects, the planning, already preparing for these projects. And here, these active management, because we're in a vector of growth, and it's impressive to talk about Morumbi Shopping with 44 years operating, showing how much we still have to grow in this region, how much we're going to grow. The quality, not only in the management of our enterprises, but we are always trying to connect better with our consumers. So I'm going to stop here. So we start with the Q&A session. We just need a few minutes to get the chairs on the stage, but I would like to thank all the team of Morumbi Shopping and thank our team to produce this event.
Bom dia a todos.
Good morning. So let's start with the Q&A session. I'd like to remind you all online that we're receiving questions via email and at multiplan.com.br. I'm going to alternate the on-site with the remote questions for the on-site. Should you have any questions, please raise your hand. We're going to give you the microphone and try to limit 2 questions per person. Marcelo Mota from JP Morgan. I invite Eduardo about the capital allocation issue, but if we think about a positive Brazil, that the interest rates with normality, how can Multiplan change the expansion in 28? We can think that there is a lot of... Well, can you talk about more about this theme, if you can turn the key, or if you see a negative scenario or just the expansion? Okay. Thank you, Marcelo. I think that always accelerating is easier than braking. And the company has a lot of projects. We can do another rhythm. We can see stability in the horizon. We have to understand if those that are going to take on ahead are going to have a commitment with the reduction of expenses in the country. The level of expense of this country cannot be what it is today. Otherwise, we're going to be suffocated by taxes. This is not a sustainable model. I hope that this happens. I am cheering so we can press a more intensive rhythm of expansion, but we have to be careful to wait for this to happen. I think that those that are going to implement this are going to have a difficult transition period. There might be some hiccups, but answering what you answered, I don't see any problem of seeing the green field that we don't see in the past. There's a lot of things to be done. So I don't think that Brazil, well, I think that Brazil grew very little over the last 5 years. We grew a lot, Multiplan grew a lot. It might not seem a lot, but we see the expansion of Brazil. We completed a cycle of 60,000 meters of GLA. So we are satisfied with what we delivered. If the scenario changes and we can invest more, it will be better. It's very difficult to work with a company and say, well, stop a company such as this is bad. So you need to be producing, to innovate, to bring improvements on how to operate better. And you saw the growth that we had in the pandemic from then on. So I hope that this happens. So the second one, when we see the real deleverage for the expansion of 12%, if we think about the future, you can comment M&A. What kind of deal do you seek? Well, it's always the maximum that we can. We cannot think about, as we've seen here, when you do an expansion of Morumbi and the others have the same essence, you are defending and you're attacking. So you're bringing the consumer that is not coming to the shopping mall and defending those that are here. So what can we get with the expansion of Morumbi? You don't measure those that are not here. You just measure those that are here. But with this expansion, we brought people that are not coming. You're delivering a different shopping mall. So you can see the impact of the whole. This week, Morumbi went over Bara Shopping in sales. So that's the good competition that I want. An asset that is better than the other. I like to promote this, and I think that this has the best return on investment. The company is obsessed by this. I try to educate the entirety of the team about this. We always have to think about what is the best use of the resources so you can get the best returns. So from Santander, thank you for the question. Congratulations on the presentation. Question about the tax reform. I think that today there is a big discussion with the retailers on what you believe with the PIX and COFINS. You lose this credit, and we talk with the retail analysts. Some say, oh, we want a discount. And now we have to pay smaller rent because we lost this credit. So my question is, how is your portfolio helping you for these negotiations? And how do you see the scenario for the tax reform? So the tax reform is an expansion for all the sectors that is a bit inconvenient. The country is not growing. Since it was born, it was critical. Okay. But we are here dribbling and receiving the bombs from Brasilia and try to operate the company. Portfolio protects? Yes, a lot. So I think that it's difficult for someone to say, well, give me a discount because the government is charging me more. So you have your pains, I have mine. We all have ours. So here we are sometimes in a situation that is difficult. I understand that it's more difficult for the small retailers. Armando and Hans, they studied more the reform than us, but it's always difficult for the smaller one. I think that we are in a privileged position for having quality assets that protects a lot, but nobody is immune. Our address, well, we live in Brazil. Well, but I want to compliment in not so technical. Well, we remember about the discount on the rent. What is the rent that is the most expensive that the tenant can pay? That's right, they cannot sell. So here our focus is to help the tenant to perform better. So this rent is more expensive. Let's help. Let's help them to have a better performance at the shopping mall. This is the best way to contribute. We make the tenant sale. When you look at Multiplan, you don't have a shopping mall company and you have a real estate one. You have several ones together. You have an engineering company, events. Seems obvious to do these works, but it's a lot of risk. And how many times I wake up in the middle of the night? Oh, well, I know about cortisol. It's spread throughout. For you to be able to do it, you're going to run risks. It's the environment that we would like to be developing with the dynamics that we've had. No. But I feel obliged to do it. I can even be old. But I need to train all of my team and look at the generation that is yet to come. The shopping mall has to be prepared for the next generation. Morumbi, Barra, all the first 5. Now we're going to the 5th generation. always with this onlook of bringing in something new. Well, you asked about the tax reform. But it's important to, I think that the most important step that the company has was breaking the tradition of launches. We did a launch for today is decisive for all of those that consume, those of you that have kids. Who's not looking at me is looking at a cell phone screen. So we changed the way the Z generation consumes with a cell phone in their hands. We have to be inserted in that. And we did that here at Morumbi. I was at the launch of the expansion of Maceió. And I got to the shopping mall, and there was a lot of parties up there. And people wanted to get in. And I said, well, what are they doing? This has to be a launch that is for the public of the shopping mall. So this is the mindset. We cannot be fearful of breaking the tradition of innovation. We've measured recently with all the movements that we've done with digital influencers. So the way that you deliver is important. What are you doing to provide for this Z generation, the new consumer? Well, we are adapting for a long time. Here, Armando was showing sales, and why the sales. When the interest rate fluctuates and it grows a lot, it doesn't impact our sales because we became an experience. You look at the past, it was very connected because the shopping mall was that. The mix of the shopping mall was purchasing. Not anymore. 50% of our mix is experience, restaurants, and people want to be there. You need to see this meeting, when we did it online, it was not that great. Now, seeing you here, there is an exchange. So we are interacting, and the Z generation wants this. You cannot consume just with one dimension. And you see how people are walking around. Everybody is walking around. So you see in the screen of the computer, they research, and they don't consume in the way that would they consume. So propaganda, they consume because they say that it is to consume. So you need to pay attention to that. It changed the way of consuming. There is my 20-year-old, and they're outside of this, but we have to be inserted in this place. And I don't think that multi gets to this, but our communication needs to get to this. There's good articles recently in Bloomberg talking about this. Not only in Brazil, but throughout the world, but we share this. And we realize that clearly we have this. They have to interact. They want to see the others. And if it's just a click, it's going to be good. For everything they don't have the pleasure of doing, it's a drugstore, market. There's people that take pleasure of going to the supermarket. I don't. So still the questions online. So we received an online question that is, congratulations on the presentation. Is there a limit for the physical expansion? Very few shopping malls in the portfolio cannot have an expansion. They cannot with the current legislation. Since that changes every day, and one of the things that we see today, the shopping mall is full, but the shopping mall is not, because the apps bring so many cars, so much people, and there is a space for us to grow more. Good morning, Andre Mazzini, Citibank. Variation on the question of Monta. So if there is no fiscal conciliation, and if there isn't, what is the plan to pay more in interest over capital, dividends, payout? The company is very reasonable in the average record, so 380 is a policy of payout that is bigger. So maybe we can, Andre, distribute more. So hopefully it won't be like that. Hopefully we will be able to grow and delivering real growth, new areas, new shopping malls, and that's a reflection that the company is doing better, that the country is doing better. But if that's not the case, then yeah, it can get to this point. Well, always looking at a capital structure that is ideal, trying to deliver the returns to our shareholders. And we are not going to be sitting down in our cash flow. It can be temporary if there is an opportunity, but that's it. Being dynamic is no new policy, is looking at the moment and looking at the opportunities. Very volatile, so it cannot be for the rest of the life. So you're going to see the opportunities. Here in Brazil, here is difficult to plan even for the next month. So I thought it was nice when you compared with the American, the competition, Simon. So Simon is, they have shopping malls in Asia, and here they are in Chile and Colombia. What is your mindset? Well, I'm going to play American. I think that in Brazil there is a lot of things that we should do. There is a lot of things. And you look at the United States, it's enormous. Simon left because of this capital structure. They get you a size, they start to buy, interest rates are low. It's a different game. We develop. Me, a short while ago, and I visited, they don't operate. We operate. So I want to believe, and I really believe, and we demonstrate that the way that we treat the shopping mall is very different. No other player that I know has the outlook that we have for the consumer, because efficiency is beautiful as long as the shopping mall is full and the people are satisfied. Then yes. Well, outside here is an enterprise. The maximum thing that they're going to get is a fair. So it's easier to develop it this way. So here from Goldman Sachs, so it grew 2 years ago. So So 2 less. There isn't a threshold, so it depends on the opportunity. Depends on the interest rate. Those that want to have a lot of debt in the scenario that we have right now. Nobody wants. I'm sorry, everyone that is here, but nobody wants to work for free. So the important thing is to try and have a balance here. We did the movement that was very big when we purchased the participation of our partner. But you see that we can balance, as you say, between 1.7, 2.2. It doesn't vary that much, but it's evaluated. So financial expenses. No, we don't have this metric. We don't do this type of calculation. As I said before, this company is for this. We look at the consumer. So I'm not going to let an asset suffer because I cannot imagine how it would be without our intervention. Once I saw a partner, and we needed to reform. Well, it's simple. Either we're going to invest or we're going to have the asset back or we're not going to invest. So it's as simple as I'm telling you. Sometimes you need to do what you need to do. I could not see Morumbi Shopping, that we are here, which is a shopping mall that was done in the 80s, with the architecture and decoration and everything that was from the 80s, because I saw that we were losing money, consumers. Sometimes we needed to walk more. We spent 400 million in a year, but there is a return. So it isn't so much, of course, we don't want to get to very high levels of indebtedness by everything that we mentioned. But we're going to do what we need to do. Geral, in this line of Eduardo, the strategy of the company is never to be placed in a position that it's not mobile. So the question made me go back. There is a possibility of having a priority partner, and we wanted to see the capital allocation we purchased, and we didn't want to buy it. So it's and that stems from a repurchasing, and we can always seize these opportunities. So the repurchasing of Cananeas. 11, cap 12. It was obvious that the share, well, nothing is obvious in Brazil, but when you only win money in the graph, but those that assembled the business, they're from beginning to end. Second question. So today there is a month, there is a war. But I wanted to know no. Might be that it rises, but until now, no. Only good news. And we have here the store of the Zara Group, which is the one that sells the most in the world. So this is an important brand, not only for So, two questions from Itaú. So, properties. You got to one of the best brands in 2025. You commented the pinpoint economies are going to. I wanted to understand from your side. 2026 might be a year of these economies appearing. And until now, when do you think that we're going to have such a good brand? Sorry, your name? Elvis. Well, as you said, we are really surpassing our numbers for a long time. Well, this year, we hope to have a good year. This is a good important thing that the company does, trying to extract the maximum out of every situation, so you can recover lost credits, discussion, difference of taxes. So we try everything. So sometimes you don't know where we're going to go. We come from a series that is very positive, of actions and results that are positive in this area. I hope that we can deliver in the same threshold. Another topic, the performance of the company. It's evident that post-pandemic, what do you think that happened to, in fact, open this app post-pandemic? And how do you think that this is going to continue? Well, management. You can see the need of attracting people. We didn't have many things. You saw that the movies were the last ones to come back. Well, if the mask is as efficient as it was, so the need to have events, to have in the mall, to attract the people, to provide for an agenda that didn't exist. So the theater has more audience than the movies. So the movies went through the companies of technology. There is no way of competing. So how does Hollywood make it for you to compete with the technology companies? So you have an AI movies. So there is the need of bringing people, promoting the meetings, made us manage this differently. So there was a period, a pandemic, that was very difficult for us. And it was almost guaranteed that if you went to the shopping mall, you were going to get COVID. So we kept the certificate. So these difficulties made you review the model of operating, how to operate, and we had to close everything overnight. So I was in the So I'm going to have to pay because other people are going to go bankrupt. But you highlighted this point, Eduardo, which is maybe in this relaunching of the company, Eduardo led this with the exemption of rent, so that the retailer, well, we were very aggressive. So that placed us, well, the retail has to think, because we were the only ones that played this card. We actually lost over R$1 billion in rent. To me, it was certain. The health of this, when it reopens, it depends on the tenant. So, Eduardo, the company started to be more efficient in its operations. The pandemic exposed, it had a few legacies. At the restart of the opening, we had to work with the operations that were reduced, and that was a learning lesson. And we took it there. We started to operate the shopping malls in an efficient way and with a higher cost. So there is a point with the management, which is that vision, even the issue of Joel. So remember December 2020, you were reopening after preserving all the ecosystem that was alive. We had a decision of investing with the Christmas. They did it was the most awaited Christmas of all time, people seeing each other, and it was a decision of management and investing along with the banks. So there's an important point of seeing the difference between Brazil, Multiplan, and our infrastructure of condominium. You can do the enterprise selling versus what we have in the United States. They didn't have that capacity. So you saw there the company suffering for 2, 3, 4 years. They started to have a threshold of sales pre-pandemic, now the international ones. So the pandemic actually cost us this building. We had 2, we sold 1 to keep the muscle of the company because of all the discounts. But we're alive and better than ever. So the online questions, thank you to all those asked. And now doing a deep dive with the management, being specific of Morumbi. Morumbi Shopping was presented as an asset that anticipated the future and reinvented throughout decades. So what were the strategic decisions that were more important to sustain this relevance for so much time? How can we replicate this in the future? I'm going to answer this question being very realistic. There isn't one strategic decision. Every day you make this strategic decision. Every day closing and trying to do the best that we can with what we have. This is the best strategy of sales for any retailer. So you know how difficult it is to arrive where we get. The expansion of Morumbi has 12 years of the project. It was a cinema. It was an office, but we're assembling this to the last minute. So we produce the studies. Oh, let's not get the restaurants. Well, it's going to be viable, but what is the differential? São Paulo, we understood that it needed to have that space, which is a space that is covered, open, protected, open air, But it wasn't done just one day. It's done every day. Every day you're thinking about a project. And the example that I gave you of the changes that we've done in regards to the launch. It was a decision. Well, November, Maceió. So why am I going to do the parties? Well, we have to get the influencers of the retailers and then we can communicate with who we want. So what do we want? What do we talk about the Z generation and the next generations? Because they influence ours. Everybody that has a kid will be doing what they're doing. You just change someone. You only influence someone until they're 18. So answering the question, every day, trying to do the best in project operation and the company as a whole. So, Victor Tapi from Bank of America. It's more philosophical question and thinking about the deadline. You're always with the mind in the future and looking at the long term. I think that we can see when you see various metrics, there isn't just a silver bullet, several things that we're doing. And Multiplan, innovation is the word that you chose at the beginning. But thinking about 10 years down the line, if you look 10, 20 years behind, did you imagine that the changes that would happen, that exposure to experience and services, that is much higher in the shopping malls? Would you think about 10, 15 years ago that that would happen? Could you foresee? Today, looking at the period ahead, well, what do you think, studying throughout the world, what do you think is the next step in a change in this model? So I see videos of shopping malls in Asia, different geographies. I understood. It's difficult to know. Things change, but the technology more and more takes a part of the lives of people. I see my kids interacting with AI. I never thought that this would be possible. But I think that there is an advantage to what we do. Our ecosystem, the platform or the shopping mall, is very flexible. So we're leaving the model that is with the purchasing, that is experience, and what was ahead. We're always having the connection. We don't want to lose the connection. So you saw generations that changed. We have to think about entertainment, which is important. All of these events, they have a component that is very strong of entertainment. But to be connected with what will happen ahead is what gives, what will mold what the shopping mall is and is not. So Brazil is the last place that sold the fridges in the shopping mall. It's connected to these modifications. It's difficult looking ahead and imagining, but there is a certainty that I can give you. We will be along with the change. And as I told you, efficiency is great. So we have to feel satisfied with what they're receiving. So it's important not to lose the focus on the consumer. How many companies do you see being lost by X amount of reasons, but they are moving away from those that consume their brand? And they don't know why they're making a mistake. I know. They're in the store and you say, well, this is not what it was. I cannot buy anything there. So the price is always right. And for some reason, the price always reflects one thing. We have to pay attention to this. People are lost in these things of, oh, I have to be and represent. You have to look at your consumer. Who is the consumer of your brand? Who is the future consumer of your brand? Because I would be annoyed if I come to a shopping mall Multiplan and I would only find people of my age. So I launched Barra Shopping in Morumbi. But I am happy when I see the other generations here and a lot of children. I did this provocation to a tenant and I am very satisfied because here you see the family. We see that onlook of looking to the family because you bring the consumer of the future and you generate this connection and this memory. It's important. Everybody that lived Para Shopping and you hear people talking, I remember of other generations remembering other things that are not yours. So it means that we are in the right path. We train to do this at the company every day. So, João Pedro from XP. I have two questions. The first, I know how difficult it is to do exercises. I think it's clear. It's more aggressive for the shopping mall. And I wanted, well, the portfolio was always dominant. Do you foresee in the mid to long term so that the shopping malls are more relevant? If the flows of they can be directed to the Multiplan, and if the tax reform could also become an M&A. João Pedro, your question is very good. Let's go back to the slide of the number of sales at Abras and comparing to ours. There is that inflection point, a pandemic. It was broadly discussed. So when we look ahead, what we see is that gap of increasing more to the good properties. And this is where Multiplan is inserted with the best properties. The tax reform is just an element. There are several others that are embedded here, and we try to discuss this. The issue of the mix, of how you manage it, how you attract investors. But it's very easy to look at the whole and see that you are in the same placement and not necessarily you're doing well. You have two properties and they're not going to run the same way. So you didn't have the tax reform. So if you're on the by the side, well, that's the point. The tax reform is just another one of the factors that I think that will make this gap that you saw on the slide, it will continue to increase. That performance of the best properties in regards to the other properties. Can you share from more on the Golden Lake in Porto Alegre? The sales at Lake Erie, Marcelo will correct me if I'm wrong, are in the 75%, 76. We still have 18 months more till 2021. The efficiency of the project improves a lot, so I can get you 29 stores without adding cost. You have more revenue and more margin in a smaller terrain. We are very trusting in Baikal that we will get you to consumers that didn't have access to Golden Lake. So we started to sell so it's a neighborhood. 1,500 units. That will generate 10,000 jobs directly. Zara went back to Barra Shopping Sul. It's installing it there. And one of the reasons that they went there was Golden Lake. I'm going to open a second store at Porto Alegre. It was because of the development of the region as a whole. So we are developing the full neighborhood. Takes some time. So now there is traction, and it started after the pandemic. Wesley from Brazil. So I have two questions. First, I wanted to know the size of the investment. You spent 540 billion in the last cycle. So I wanted to know if there is the projected value and understanding how much of that expansion has an impact. You talked about the change in the profile, and you brought to us. There is discussions with other international names to get to this new shopping mall that you're opening. There is always brands looking for us to get into Brazil. Many give up because they do not understand the complexity, the fiscal complexity of the country. So we talked to Niclo, they hired an office. And they said, I cannot understand, even with the office justifying, I'm going to wait for another phase. I don't know if this is going to happen, but there is many brands that see Brazil as an important market for growth. That is one of them. Clearly, their performance is very good here. It grows here. I think that is in their pipeline to bring other brands of their group. You talked about this is a project, but it will be as transformational as what we've seen. I am certain that in Brasilia, at the end of the year, it's going to happen what happens here, because we are delivering a different mall, a different way of consuming and living that is different. That is transformational. There in Brasilia, different than here, you have a shopping mall, and then that is about 100 and some meters. So we're going to deliver Brasilia the solution that now it's a structure mall. I am certain that there is the impact that we had in Morumbi. It's an advantage. In Brasilia, when we bought the Park Shopping, we couldn't build anything around it. So we had very few neighbors. Now, 41 years, 12, 43, the real estate development is gigantic. And the terrain that is immediately by the side of the shopping mall will grow. We're going to have 30 buildings, and it's more traffic for the place. 10,000 people are going to live there. In Barra Shopping Sul, you still have 200 meters. Here, it's contiguous. So you're going to get to the shopping mall. So this is what I think is transformational. It's for you to see an environment that is completely different from what you had. You're gonna see Morumbi 2026. This is what we're gonna do with the expansions in the date that it happened. Jundiaí, São Caetano, Belo Horizonte, wherever. We're always thinking about delivering something better, more connected with the generations up ahead. So I wanted to understand if you commented the drop in the real estate, in the interest rates, it increases the relationship to the business. At the same time, with the reform, we have the end of the hedge being programmed. That should impact your appetite for the greenfields because of the end of the hedge, the real estate. Well, I think that it will be more impactful for the real estate. We have, of course, the shopping centers. We're going to develop it, and then your question is very pertinent because in regards to hedge, it's very detailed, and you have to analyze the providers. It's a surgical thing that we need to do. Unfortunately, we're getting to the end of the time, but we have a last question, and then we can close the event. I wanted to talk about M&A. It was a strategy over the last year. So it can be touristy, or when we look at Multiplan, almost half of those on our side, it's management and trying to understand. So if I'm selling an asset, 7 or 8, to see an expansion that is going to give me 15, but I'd rather not sell. I don't think that this is a model. I think that this is an opportunity. I have a bunch of partners in the company, but at the level of property, to manage is very bad. For the property to be good or profitable, as you can see, Morumbi, Barra, you have to have control of it. Agility in the decision-making process, and when it's very fragmented, it's much more difficult. Well, we got to the top of the hour. I'm going to give the floor to Eduardo so he can close the event. It was a pleasure to be with all of you. I wanted to share the satisfaction of planning and being better than what we planned. So I'm very happy with the delivery of Morumbi, very happy with the movement that the company did for the transformation, so that got us to where we want. It's gratifying to see a team that is so engaged, that is so dedicated to transforming every enterprise that we have in our portfolio. And that will continue for many, many years. I guarantee you that this is the way. The dedication of the company is total with all the projects that we have. I hope to be with you so we have this rich exchange of ideas, which is something that taught me a lot. You have a ritual. We have an exceptional work here, but you review your strategy and you make me work differently. So I wanted to thank you for transforming Multiplan along with us. Thank you.